editor at CBS Interactive. Thanks for joining me today as we discuss the way in which new infrastructure technologies, especially converged infrastructure, impact medium-sized businesses. And I want to thank today's sponsors, HP and Intel, for making today's event possible. I'm joined today by our panel of experts. First, we have Aaron Mills, Vice President of the Americas Midsize Commercial, SMB, and Inside Sales Organization for HP's Enterprise Group, which covers the largest number of customers in the U.S. Prior to his current role, Aaron was the U.S. Sales Director for Vertical Markets and Emerging Growth Accounts, amongst other HP leadership roles. We also have Lori McCabe, a partner at the SMB Group, who brings her more than 20 years of experience in the IT industry to her current role. Lori has built widespread recognition for her capabilities and insights in the SMB market in several areas, including cloud computing, software as a service, collaboration, business solutions, social networking, and managed services. And our third panelist today is Timm Ideker, District Manager, Enterprise Group, Midsize Commercial at HP. Timm joined HP from systems integrator Midwave Corporation, and prior to joining Midwave, Timm held various sales and technical roles, learning startup frenzy with some firms and flourishing the mergers and acquisitions that seem to keep happening with other firms. I'd like to thank all of our panelists for joining us today. Now on to our panel discussion. So first, I want to start out by directing a question at you, Aaron, and that is, what makes medium-sized businesses different from an IT perspective?
Well, thanks, Michael. And first, let me welcome everybody out there in Google land. It's great to have the opportunity to share the perspectives with you and get the opportunity to address some of these questions. So I think when we, over the course of the years, in terms of our interaction with a large number, almost a countless number of mid-size CIOs, IT directors, there's a couple of things that really stand out. A lot of them can be tied to the relative size of IT staffs, IT budgets. I think that smaller organizations have, if anything, an imperative to really leverage technology, to be nimble, to represent the same kind of presence in the marketplace that in some cases much larger, much better resourced organizations can do just with sheer bandwidth and resource power. So I think that there's a tremendous opportunity for midsize to leverage information technology to get their story, to get their product, to get their value to their end user customers. And at the same time, those smaller staffs, those smaller budgets tend to bring with them some implications. The first would be we generally see mid-market organizations with more legacy environments, whether those be from a hardware or infrastructure point of view, could be in terms of middleware, applications, databases. Because of the budget constraints, they tend to hold on to the life of the asset longer, and as a result, there's more complexities when we're looking for an environment to create interoperability. So our focus has really been around diminishing the complexity with that legacy environment, creating both an environment, we'll say an environmental, an economic, and a technological footprint that really renders the smaller IT staff to be every bit as productive and as efficient as some of their much more richly resourced competitors in the marketplace.
Thanks for that, Aaron. Lori, let me bring you into this conversation. From the SMB Group's perspective, what makes mid-sized companies so different from an IT view?
As businesses grow in general, it really doesn't matter from what stage to the next. The resources and solutions that might have been adequate when they were smaller at some time run out of steam for them, and they're no longer able to really get the job done the way they need it to kind of stay ahead of the curve and grow. And even though medium-sized businesses tend to have, more IT people than very small businesses, we find a lot of them still take a pretty reactive approach to IT. So in other words, they're still kind of in the fire drill and break-fix mode. And I think, one of the big challenges, especially for established medium-sized businesses that have been around, is to really integrate IT in a much more strategic way at the C-level of the company and have those people have a equal voice at the table in terms of planning the business strategy and figuring out what the IT element of that is.
Thanks for that. Greatly appreciate it. So, Aaron, how is HP uniquely positioned to deliver on this, the different needs of the medium-sized business?
We've taken a multifaceted approach to make sure that the delivery of our infrastructure and our solutions really is geared towards the mid-market experience. First and foremost, we've worked to create what I consider to be the most comprehensive and most scalable architecture environment for infrastructure in the world today. Whether you're talking about compute, store, or networking, the multitude of price points and the seamless, friction-free nature of those architectures and growth paths are really second to none. So their ability to aid a midsize or a SMB organization in a high growth or in any kind of a growth mode is really second to none. Secondly, we've invested significantly and truly committed in a way that I can't think any of our competitors can compare to open architectures and open environments across the board. So whether we're talking about operating systems, hypervisors, our commitment to things like OpenFlow and OpenStack, there's just a consistent pattern and a DNA throughout those scalable architectures that we've created that are totally geared towards openness and making sure that organizations are not getting locked in or finding themselves in dead-end migration or growth paths from an infrastructure point of view. And then finally, it's been about a degree of innovation and creating tool sets that allow that smaller, as I mentioned before, Michael, that smaller IT staff to be incredibly effective and productive. So the ability from a single pane of glass to manage in a very seamless way across the enterprise all aspects of system administration, backup, recovery, remote site management, provisioning. These are some of the types of tool sets that we've really sought to bring forward with a degree of innovation and support that specifically has the mid-market experience in mind.
And that takes me back to, the days of HP OpenView, and you think about that single pane of glass and how that's evolved over the years. And you were kind enough to provide us with a video. If you give me a second, I'm going to share that video with all of us in attendance today. So give me a second to get that playing. And I'll start that screen share. Get set. Here it comes.
The most exciting thing about technology is also its greatest challenge: change. The IT landscape is at its most dynamic yet and is evolving at a rapid pace. The enterprise is changing, IT management is changing, infrastructure is changing, and your IT needs are changing too. Everyone is managing more data and responding to new opportunities like never before. Cloud, big data and mobility are the big trends driving the future, what HP calls the new style of IT. Few legacy data centers were designed for this. They're too complex, siloed, rigid, costly, and too slow to respond to business needs. Business speed is outpacing IT speed, and the gap between what the business demands and what IT can deliver is only widening. Today, CIOs are under even greater pressure to respond to diverse business needs faster. The piece-part, stitch-it-together approach for fulfilling business demand will no longer suffice. What is required is a new approach to solutions, one that is powered by convergence. With HP Converged Infrastructure, we ushered in a new era of IT that's all about simplifying and aligning IT to the speed of the business. It's about dramatically streamlining the user experience for any workload at any scale. It's about removing complexity and cost to drive greater IT agility and efficiency at reduced risk. The HP Converged Infrastructure app-centric approach allows you to provision new services and apps in days or minutes for all your workloads. Ultimately, it's about being able to focus more on innovation for the things that help your business most. All this requires innovating with modern technologies built with purposeful IP across servers, storage, and the network. It requires modern management built for the way you work and the expertise in services to help you quickly meet your technology goals and changing skills needs. It's about accelerating your move forward with workload-optimized engineered systems that are easy to buy, manage, and deploy for your top initiatives in virtualization, cloud, and big data. That's the power behind HP's converged infrastructure. Power that can be yours right now. Talk to us today.
And isn't everything just better when it's done with an English accent, I ask you? So let me get that back to us. Okay, we're back. Terrific. Thank you very much for providing that video. I want to bring Timm into the discussion here. And you see software as a service and cloud-based applications and services that are popping up every day and often bought and deployed without the involvement of IT. Is this good or bad, Timm?
Thank you for having me on the call as well, Michael. So not only do things sound better with an English accent, they also sound better with a little bit of techno music in the background and flowing diagrams. So specifically, the area where HP excels is working with organizations that are suffering through some of the challenges that come from what we call shadow IT. So that is where a business leader inside of an organization has requested something and it is taking too long, or it is too expensive, or it is just too difficult to get something like that out of the IT organization. So if I were the marketing officer or the finance director inside of an organization, I might reach external. I might reach out to Google, or I might reach out to Amazon. I might reach out to an external or a provider and actually ask them to create something because I can't wait or I can't afford to do it internally. So what we do is we empower two groups within that organization. We empower the IT department that when they've got the underpinnings in place, our servers, our storage, our networking, or in some cases other storage and other networking and other servers, to actually have those elements in place to be able to respond to those business demands, respond quickly with predictable cost, and to get those things up and running. We also empower the business by having conversation and subject matter experts up and down the stack within our product, within our products, and also within our expertise to be able to talk to marketing in marketing language. And so bridging those two things together, I think, is something really only HP can do.
Thanks for that. So, Lori, let me ask you, this shadow IT, or organizations doing things without the help of IT, good or bad?
Well, you know, the way I look at it, it's not really a question of good or bad. It's just a reality that cloud services are an easier way for a lot of companies to deploy an application they need when they need it. If, as Timm was saying, they just don't have the IT resources, or the IT resources can't supply it quickly enough. In our survey that we do every year about solution adoption, we do see the rise of cloud-based solutions in every single business application areas, yet there's always trade-offs between the cloud and on-prem. And I think what happens at a certain point, too, is that business decision makers are adopting these applications, they're not getting IT involved, and that's where companies run into trouble, because then those new cloud apps don't talk to the on-premise or legacy solutions the company has. So again, I think, you know, reinforcing what we're all saying, you've got to get IT and business on the same page and working in tandem, so you can pick the best solution, whether it's in the public cloud or deployed on an HP converged system, but so everything works together in tandem instead of, you know, getting all the silos.
And that brings me to a great question for you, Timm. What does converged infrastructure even mean today?
So we love the terms converged infrastructure out in the marketplace because 3-4 years ago we came up with it and we actually put it out into the water supply as our own intellectual words that we put together. So converged infrastructure for us is not only a solution, it's a philosophy. Back to the underpinnings, converged infrastructure is in a lot of ways servers and storage and network and software and services all working together. But another way to think about what converged infrastructure really is that from a client buying perspective, this is a product that we've got available. It is a solution set that we can step you into if you are a customer. But at the end of the day, it's about speed, it's about agility, it's about getting products out into the hands of the business owners, including messaging, collaboration, big data, cloud, any of the things that the business actually needs. We can deliver that on that backbone of converged infrastructure really, really easily. It's a single pane of glass. So hearkening back to what you said about OpenView, it's that single pane of glass management for the entire server, storage, network stack. But in the way that a business consumes it, they don't think about it in those within those constructs or within those Lego blocks. They think about they want a brand new tool to do more marketing. They want a brand new tool that's going to call back some of their information on their customer base so that they can do correlated marketing events against it. So what I like specifically about the way we are talking about converged infrastructure is it's technology to technologists, but we message it and help our technology customers talk to their actual consumers, their business owners, about how to actually deploy services more quickly without talking about brittle systems, inflexibility of the old systems. The business, they don't care about that. What they care about is turning up these new applications so they can go get new customers, they can be better and more agile in terms of mergers and acquisitions and work on customer retention, et cetera.
It's just amazing because to me this is reminiscent of mainframe architecture in so many ways, and this whole accordion move back and forth to centralized and decentralized that has brought us to the cloud has really been interesting. And that brings me to another thought, and that's big data. And is big data just for big business? And Aaron, let me put this at you. Has the changing analytics landscape, how does that impact the medium-sized business that's considering a big data solution?
Yeah, I think there's a tendency in some cases to think that big data means big budgets and big corporate solutions that don't lend themselves necessarily to the midsize or the SMB community. And really nothing could be further from the truth. I think when we're thinking about big data, to your point, Michael, there's just been for everybody, whether it's through mobility, whether it's through the Web 2.0 explosion that we've seen. There's an enormous wealth of information out there that can absolutely be monetized and or that can be used to assist smaller organizations in terms of being more responsive. And back to Tim's point, it's all about how can we help them be nimble, how can we help them be flexible and responsive to the high rate of change that's happening in the marketplace and in the business. So I think, again, to the point that I made earlier, our goal is to create price-sensitive points that are scalable and flexible and nimble, and that certainly is inclusive of big data, the software, the architecture that underpins it, and making that available and making it relevant for mid-sized businesses just as equally as it would be attractive to a larger business.
So let me throw this to you then, Tim. What does it mean to take an application-centric approach in all of this? How does this differ from the way IT looks at deploying things today?
So before I answer that, let me draft a little bit on what Aaron already stated, and that is big data in the mid-sized commercial space doesn't necessarily mean that it's a large volume of data. I tend to take a little bit different look at big data, and our customers do as well, and I've learned this from them, and that is big data actually has to do with the different spots that the data resides. It resides over a big area. It might reside in an older system, like you mentioned, a mainframe system. It might reside over here. It might be part of your social data that you're collecting, and all these other ecosystems of data. Instead of having them stranded as islands, big data is bringing a big variety of data together, structured and unstructured, to be able to make business decisions. So I wanted to add that. And then application specific, how we're actually deploying products, how customers are buying software. On one hand, it's a really, really big difference, and on the other hand, it's not. Here's what I mean. So application centric means we think about the application and we get that application delivered to the business as quickly as possible. That's always been what we've done, right? That's what IT buyers have done for a really long time. But it used to mean you'd fall in love with an application, you'd find out what it required, you would then go out and buy that infrastructure, and 30 to 45 days later, you might be able to go back and tell the business you've got their shiny new tool up and running. Instead, what you can do is you still unleash the business to go and find those exciting new tools, those new applications, whatever it is, and then when they come to you with the request, you know that it's going to fit into the existing infrastructure that you have in place, because it is, back to one thing Aaron said, is it's an open standard platform, and you can actually just carve out a little bit of processing power, a little bit of storage, some networking, whatever the Lego pieces are, and you can actually deliver that. So you think more about the application, and you don't get bogged down in the mechanics of acquiring the necessary infrastructure to run it.
Terrific. Thanks for that. So let's talk about specifically the technology needs and the skills that are required for medium-sized businesses to stay competitive. With business needs changing so rapidly, how can a medium-sized business with those limited IT resources keep up with all of those changing skill sets? Aaron, what do you say?
I think a lot of it's already happening. Clearly, there's been an enormous wave of standardization and virtualization. I think now the next step is for many mid-sized businesses that are somewhere along that evolutionary timeline to begin to look very specifically at what kind of automation can be brought forward in the context of their virtualized environments, so across applications, end-to-end processes. And again, some of the tool sets and data center automation that we're bringing forward in the context of converged infrastructure are very much focused on enabling that kind of incredible productivity and efficiency that come hand in hand with that. So the next step, in our view, regardless of where you are along that evolutionary pathway to the cloud, so to speak, is that most of the mid-size accounts that we work with are now finding that they're at the stage where an extreme amount of automation is available to, again, simplify, streamline, and reduce you stop redlining the tachometer, in effect, in terms of all that's going on out there that has to be done to maintain these legacy environments and the various different footprints that Tim referred to. So with virtualization, we now can begin to scale back and think about how do we take these standard open architecture environments and the standards, as I mentioned, and begin to think about a relatively simple, streamlined data center transformation and automation environment that will allow that smaller IT environment to really focus on innovation and keep pace with the changing rate of change that's going on within the business functions.
There's nothing that changes faster than change itself, I guess. So, Lori, let me throw that to you, that same question. Business needs change rapidly, limited IT resources, skill set demands. How did the mid-sized company?
I would certainly, agree with what Aaron just said, but I also want to just say that the average medium-sized business doesn't have a lot of technology resources in-house. So if you're a company with like 100 to 249 employees, in our research, we come up with about an average of 5 IT people. The upper end of mid-market, 500 to 1,000 employees, maybe 12 full-time IT staff. And the other really important thing is that these are often IT generalists, right? They may not have in-depth skills in specific areas like virtualization or mobile or analytics or a lot of these new areas that they're going to have expertise in to really take advantage of. So they need to find trusted advisors and partners that can help them navigate through all this, because believe it or not, figuring out what solutions are actually going to best benefit my business is one of their top technology challenges. And it's just not about buying something and turning it on. It's really about having somebody that can help you make sure you get the best return on that for the business. And a lot of companies just don't have the resources in-house to do that all by themselves.
And so, that brings me to a great question, which is, and thanks for the segue, Lori, is, Aaron, how does the channel fit into this picture? Are they the way this should be delivered? Is this something that your users want to partner directly with HP? They work with the channel. What's the best route to take?
Yeah, you and Lori couldn't have set us up any better in terms of an opportunity to talk about our strategy in terms of customer coverage and support. One of the things that I think works very well in the HP data center environment is, to Lori's point, is really around value added and staff augmentation. In the United States alone, HP has over 10,000 channel partners coast to coast. And what we typically do there in conjunction with the partners is create practices and expertise around everything from SAP HANA to Microsoft suite of applications, VMware with virtualization, and a whole range of other horizontal and vertical solution providers in the marketplace that bring subject matter expertise, whether it's around infrastructure, middleware, vertical and horizontal applications to bear in a way that can be viewed as an extension of that modest or smaller IT staff, and yet at the same time our reliance and our leverage from the channel partner community in no way precludes our customer base from having direct access to HP. So we've got a wealth of field-based resources with various degrees. They can be generalists in many cases, but we also have a range of experts with subject matter expertise around networking architectures, storage, our overall business critical systems environment, as well as our standard industry server environment. So there's with HP, what the customer can expect is to have a broad range of access to staff augmentation capabilities, but also value-added services that's a blend of both HP and our channel partners. And it's very easy to get engaged with these channel partners and very easy to get engaged with us. And I know as we wrap up here, we're going to share with the audience some points of contact that should make it incredibly simple to engage with HP to learn more about what we have to offer and how we can help their particular organization wrestle with some of the challenges that they're facing around these topics that we've covered today.
Wow, half an hour just really flew by. I want to thank our speakers from HP, Aaron Mills and Timm Ideker. From the SMB group, Lori McCabe. Great panel discussion. Glad you could join me today. Also want to thank HP and Intel for making today's event possible. You should see that link on your screen to get more information and find out how to engage with HP to help solve the IT problems for your mid-sized business as it evolves. For CBS Interactive, this is Michael Krieger saying have a great day.